hello Yellow YouTube channel and hello everyone. We're at Yellow Coworking in the heart of Chiang Mai, Thailand. And today we have a beautiful guest, Nicole. She runs a couple projects. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell our viewers a couple of words about that.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole. I'm from Vietnam. I came here on a very impromptu visit, but very grateful for Yellow team to accommodate me and turn this into an opportunity for me to share about my projects. So hopefully I will be able to see more of you here in our community, and hopefully to stay in touch with you after this show as well.
Well, let's go inside to learn more details.
And it's very nice to come back here and especially to have more time to share a bit about what I'm doing. So I'm running two projects at the moment. So one is a NFT trading card game. We are about to launch our game in Q4 this year. And it's actually a very kind of intense battle style kind of trading card game where you have to put your mind to it, not just like a casual games, but actually strategizing the game and the deck and of course the NFTs to have better position, against your enemies in the game. So at the moment we are working hard on the beta version. It's going to be launched very soon, and we already have the player versus player version ready. So if you're up for the battles, do check out our game at Duelist King. So that's the first one. The second one is something also more exciting to me personally. So it's a Web3 community. It's called APAC DAO. That stands for Asia Pacific DAO. We have around 500 members from 20 countries at the moment, although we just started this 2 months ago. So I would say this is a very open source Web3 initiatives just to connect players in the DeFi, Metaverse, gaming and Web3 space in Asia Pacific. So we really want to make this as somewhere that people can just go to and get meaningful connections to develop their projects in a more decentralized way. So those are the two things that I'm running. Another side project, which is a conference this September in Vietnam. It's called Ethereum Ho Chi Minh City and Build Asia. So we are trying to bring around 30 international speakers to this tech-focused conference in Vietnam, just to mingle with the builders and developers community in Vietnam. So that's something very exciting to me personally, and hopefully to you as well, if you plan to come by Asia around that time, because September is going to be on fire, in Asia. So hope to be able to see some of you here.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Tell us more about the crypto, blockchain, DeFi communities that you're running. So how did it all start? Are you running it with your team members? Is it just your personal project? Mm-hmm. What kind of, do you have some gatherings, offline gatherings? Do you have a Telegram channel? How can people join it?
Of course. So to be honest, it didn't start as something, kind of structured in the beginning. It's just that I have been in this space since 2015. So I also work around, Vietnam and Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific, running blockchain media, hosting meetups, and of course, meeting a lot of the players in the region. So I think it's just a matter of time until now when, after 7 years, that I got to know enough people. Mm-hmm. And then basically, of course, they are building this very strong, solid network of builders and project owners. So I want just to bring them together in an open source kind of community, an open community where people can actually, get advice, non-biased advice from other projects. And more importantly, how they can grow the project in a more resource efficient and in a more decentralized way. So that's how it all started. I have another co-founder with me. So he's been with Samsung Ventures for 14 years. And now he's running also one of the largest social gaming platform in Korea. And we wanted to start this as, I think, something like a bridge between Vietnam and other countries. Starting with, I think, Southeast Asia and Korea, but it has got escalated a bit. So right now we have members from 20 countries. And we want to make this in a DAO model. So that we want to make sure that the projects when they join us. This is not just for fun or connections, but they can actually connect with the players out there, and more importantly, they can build partnerships, even do fundraising, do community outreach via this network in a more decentralized way, because I think that's the power this whole community is about, right? And then basically, I think for now we are running a monthly event in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, also in Singapore as well. So we have hosted 5 meetups so far. Got a lot of people coming to the meetup, and I think the most important thing is to keep it exclusive, but also as open enough so that people, when they come there, they know who to find, who to connect with, and they would, come back with some of the takeaways or meaningful connections out of it. So I mean, right now we are just running it on Telegram. We're gonna have a website soon. It's called apacdao.net. I would be able to share the link and so on later. It's an exclusive group right now, but definitely you are more than welcome to join us.
So you mentioned DAO, and I remember that your NFT game is also based on some DAO system. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay. I think the DAO is definitely, I think it's one of the, I think it's trending, of course, these days, especially among the Web3 community. But I think, of course, we might need to look at what are the values of DAO to your project. So for instance, we started with our game, the DAO concept in our game, to make sure that versus a mainstream game where the players actually just have no rights in how the game is designed or how the gameplay is being structured, we can actually offer something more with a DAO model. So that basically for now, we have so many stakeholders and players in the whole game. So we have, of course, investors, designers, players, of course, collectors, who want to collect the NFTs for fun, for example. So right now, imagining that the game itself does not revolve around the publisher, but it's going to be a more decentralized space where all of these stakeholders, they can play a role in deciding or voting how the gameplay is like or how the designs look like. That would be a much more, I think, powerful concept, and also very motivating for a lot of the players as well when they join the game. So before, they can just follow whatever the publishers gave them. And for now, they would become one of the decision makers in there. They also have stake in the game. So basically, their role is going to be so much different. And I think that's going to be the way that I think with GameFi and even the blockchain gaming should head in that direction. Because the basic value of blockchain, I think, of course, is more about empowering the community. And of course, providing or sharing the resources to support the project. So I think it fits well with game, especially to start with. And of course other areas as well.
Definitely. So basically your game, so you have players, you have developers, you have some other parts of the team, you have investors. So, and then you have some money flowing between those two. So have you built all of those groups of people as a DAO? So basically, are the money that your investors put in the project, do they go to the DAO treasury, or did you make it kind of halfway from DAO and traditional way of running a project?
So we're going to have some transition period, of course. So I think with the DAO right now, basically with the project itself, with the current tokenomics, it's more about the game. But then later on, we would be able to run like a DAO, as a entity under that, under the group. For now, we also have treasury from the tokenomics, to be put in the DAO so that it can sponsor the whole DAO model later. But what I mean is that basically, it doesn't mean that we can only run one DAO in one game, right? Basically for us, for example, we're thinking about, of course, a lot of these DAOs or even sub-DAOs for smaller group of people who share the same interest. So we can imagine that this is not just a big DAO, but then if we have, let's say, designers, if we have collectors who want to kind of create their own DAO to be able to, for example, auction an NFT or raise fund for an NFT, that's also possible. We also think about maybe at the longer term where we can actually have some kind of partnership or collaboration with other games, and that can spin up into another DAO as well. So I would say that for now, I mean, this is going to be further down the road, of course, since we are actually just launching our game. But we want to make sure that at the end of the day, this space, the game is open enough for collaboration and for people to actually kind of build up some kind of sub-DAOs or sub-communities within the game.
So you're basically saying that it's easier and probably makes more sense to have like different separate DAOs as opposed to just one big complicated DAO with like different sub-segments or something, right?
Yeah, because I think right now, if you look at a lot of the DAOs these days, right, I think still there's a lot of room to, let's say, improve in terms of voting mechanics.
Definitely.
Or in terms of, even the incentives model, how you will be able to evaluate the contribution of the members in a more fair and transparent way. Until then, we were thinking that basically trying out some of the more niche DAOs, where people share the same values, and we can actually kind of course, like, let's say refine the mechanics for them. Instead of like running a big DAO, I think that's definitely important if you already got a great community with, like let's say with some of these like structures in place. But for us, I mean, we understand that of course the game is new and we are also still working on the collaboration. So I would go for the option of having some of these niche DAOs first, and then we can actually kind of gather once we have a well-defined structures, then we can actually, do a better and bigger DAO at the end.
It makes sense. And then you get people who are more interested in one specific topic together, so the voting is more clearer and actually more beneficial for the end goal. All right. Coming back to the game, so I think in your website you're writing that you wrote that you have raised like some tremendous millions of dollars. So how did the process of that go? Like, is it mostly the venture investments, or is it just players who wanted to like book a spot or something like that? Because Yellow has been in the fundraising part for quite some time, and looks like we're coming to an end, but it would be kind of interesting to hear about your experience here.
Okay, so we've raised $1.7 million. I think that's pretty much like, I think back at when Gamify was on trend, I mean, that was kind of a baseline number, right, for projects to raise the fund. So, I mean, we actually raised more from crypto VCs. And of course, we also have like a public round as well. So we did 2 launches on PancakeSwap and also another on OCamRaiser. So one of the key differentiators about our game is that we're building this on like as a multi-chain game. So it's going to be let's say it's going to be built on top of a lot of the other chains. So at the moment we've already built on Polygon and Phantom and BNB chain. So we're hoping that, of course, we will be able to integrate more chains for the game. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for, let's say, especially the newbies or mainstream gamers to stick with one chain, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so basically, I think this multi-chain and bridge interoperability have been kind of, been discussed and resolved. Not resolved totally, but in the process of being resolved by a lot of the projects. So we did 2 of the dual launch. We also kind of course, like after that, we are thinking of like, let's say with 1.7 million, this is going to be basically go towards the development of the game. But then we're going to have more revenue streams coming in for the game from the NFT sales, especially the cards. Because I mean, with card game, that's also like one of the main cash cows for a lot of the game publishers too. And of course, like with the in-game kind of activities. So we want to raise more revenue from in-game activities, like transactions, also like tournaments, because at the end of the day, we want to make it into like an esports tournament for trading card game, because it's so much cooler when you can have spectators and players joining in, and it's going to give us more room to collaborate with other games as well. So I would say there would be a lot of these revenue streams coming in, so we didn't want to raise too much, but then it's enough for us to build the foundation, and then from here we would be able to, I think, facilitate more revenue streams in-game, which is more important.
What do you think is the future of NFT blockchain games, especially in terms of metaverse?
I think that's a very interesting question. Because the idea of us developing Duelist King is not just a game, but we're actually working on it's kind of a infrastructure for games. But then this is going to be a bit more technical, but for us at the moment, we're thinking that with blockchain gaming, if we just stick with blockchain as a blockchain itself, it does not address a lot of the innate problems with games. So for example, blockchain itself, it does not handle instant finality, which is very important for in-games and metaverse transactions.
Can you explain this word a bit
For
more?
example, I mean with Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? It takes at least the maximum, so like a couple of 10 to even 2 minutes or even 10 minutes.
Just the speed.
Yeah, at the speed of
execution.
transactions.
Yeah, okay.
So if you just rely on blockchain, just to execute your game, it does not handle this instant finality, and it does impair the experience for gamers.
For sure.
Right. And then there are a lot of the other things, for example, with liquidity. So right now, you have so many L1s, L2 bridges, but basically what they do is that they just mirror one token from one chain to another.
Yeah.
There's no kind of aggregate liquidity pool for the games to be able to tap in.
They're very not secure.
Yeah, and then if you use the SIX or bridges, they are prone to hacks and breaches, security breaches. So basically, a lot of these problems, that I think if we just stick with the normal kind of structure of blockchain, very, very little chance that we can actually address that. So for us right now, we are actually building our own infrastructure. It's called Orochi Network.
Okay.
And it comes with, let's say, a more sophisticated, different layers of solutions at consensus, at liquidity, to make sure that we can address these problems, in a long way along our development. I think it's going to take maybe more time to explain about that, but basically we want to combine the combination of hash graph and blockchain as well all together to make sure that we can still inherit the immutability of blockchain, but at the same time we can address instant finality and also kind of, let's say reduce the cost of transactions thanks to the hash graph kind of features. So it's going to be like a hybrid kind of consensus, and basically from there, we also have different kind of layers of liquidity as well to make sure that we can actually be on top of these liquidity pools.
Okay.
It's like a layer zero kind of solution too. So I think that basically with blockchain gaming and NFTs and metaverse, I think the potentials are huge because we are actually giving people much, more tools to verify, to validate their ownership with the games and the in-game assets, and of course, to create their own kind of economies and in-game. So what's more important is the infrastructure underneath must be able to handle that massive volume of transactions and projects. So I think that we want to kind of address that problem at the infrastructure level. And I think it's going to follow at the execution level, because right now, I believe that no major players is standing outside this trend, right? Everyone sees the applications and the let's say the values, but they don't know how to enter this space. And also the infrastructure does not meet this requirement for this massive, let's say volume transactions in the future. So for us, we are trying to rectify this at the infrastructure level.
Does your project match this famous Bitcoin trilemma? So from what you just said, it sounds like it's scalable and fast. Is it secure?
That's also a very good kind of concept. So we have a separate kind of concept. It's called WAP zone. So it's going to be like an improved concept versus wormhole. Okay. We haven't even have a white paper to work on that. So if you follow Orochi Network on Twitter, so we are going to share that a little bit more in the future, because right now it's still in stealth mode, but we are also speaking with a couple of early partners and supporters about this too.
Okay. Why do you market yourself as an NFT game and not DAO game? It seems to me that DAO is really trending right now, and it could maybe attract more people, or I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it doesn't necessarily mean that we would not sell the DAO concept later or market the concept later. It's just that the DAO is going to be at a later stage of development within the game. Right now, we think that because until the game is developed, is fully launched, we are focusing more on the NFT sales. And I think it has a lot to do with the genre of the game too, because with trading card game, the gameplay is very important, but the designs of the cards are also another another key hook for the players. People like the designs of the cards. They keep that as collectibles. And if you can turn it into NFT, something verifiable, something that people can actually, kind of verify the provenance and then the authenticity of the card, they will be able to trade, collect, and do a lot more things with the NFTs. So, I mean, at this stage, it's going to be, I think, more feasible for us to market this from the NFT angle. And once the game is out and once the DAO infrastructure is out, I'm pretty sure by that time the community might be more ready in terms of, let's say, awareness about the DAO, about the game itself. And then they will be able to feel that the DAO makes much more sense in terms of, let's say, engaging them, in the game itself.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, coming back to your architecture, which seems definitely very interesting. So here comes another one. Since you're developing something that is very astute and very well thought through, it seems, at least. Well, are you gonna follow the spirit of DeFi and maybe share the ideas, the Legos you're putting together with some other projects? So the other blockchain games can use what you've created for just being better games?
I think with Duelist King itself for now, we are open for collaboration, of course, with other games. With Orochi Network, the infrastructure, we are definitely keen on having other games onto the platform because that would help the network itself more robust, right? And more, I would say, sustainable. Because of course we need adopters, and those would be the games themselves. So this would require a network of validators node, and we are planning to onboard a couple of early games, and we can give the nodes for them for free in the beginning, so that they can get some incentives from validating the transactions, and then later on we will be able to kind of have more players in here and make it more like a decentralized network.
Yeah, so you'll basically have like a liquidity pool based on your architecture. So inviting other, it actually kind of reminds me of what Yellow Network does, because we're also building a liquidity pool between different exchanges. That's really nice. Well, so let's address the elephant in the room, the upcoming conference. What theme will it have? What kind of people are you planning to invite? Is it going to be a big conference? Who should definitely consider going?
So I think that those are very good questions. So we're actually hosting this dual conference in Ho Chi Minh City this September. So the precise dates are 23rd and 24th of September. We're going to have a very nice venue. It's the Independence Palace, which is a historic landmark of Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. The plan for this was incepted, I think, 3 years ago before COVID. I think the interest in Vietnam back then was huge, And then back then, me and my partners, we hosted a hackathon for Cosmos in Ho Chi Minh City for the very first time. We planned to do that physically, but then we could not do it due to the COVID situation. So it had to be something kind of hybrid. And then we did that as a kind of a precursor to an upcoming big conference, because we wanted to test the water and see, if there are enough people coming in. We got, of course, like a lot of supports from these major universities and communities. So we think that better to have a more tech-focused blockchain conference, which is seriously missing in the space for now. And what we want to do with this conference is that it's going to be more like a like a platform for builders and developers to come and of course discuss about the latest, technical developments in the space. So it's not going to be like a gigantic kind of conference with thousands of people. We're just kind of hoping to have maybe 600 developers and builders to the event.
Very good.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 2-day thing. So we have Ethereum Ho Chi Minh City on the 23rd, which is definitely dedicated to Ethereum ecosystem. The second day, it's called Build Asia. So that's going to be more a tech agnostic, platform agnostic kind of conference. So everyone is welcome to join. So the event itself is free to attend. And then, of course, we also have like VIP tickets at $199, which I think is not too pricey for
Good
a lot
price
of the
to feel yourself
delegates
as a VIP for 2 days.
Yeah, so I mean, for those who want to come and explore this scene, I mean, this is not just about projects interested in Vietnam, but I think more about like projects interested in Asia and also in the latest developments in the space. We want to make it also like a forum for everyone can share what they have been doing, not just in terms of project development, but of course, like what are some of the latest solutions out there? What are some of the technical challenges that are being addressed? So we also have like some early interest from, you know, like the funds, regional funds, also like regional main players too. So hopefully you can come by and join us. We do have a lot of these like partnership options, like hosting side events or workshops or exhibiting at the event itself. So I mean, the setting itself is very historic, but I think it's going to be very interesting to have a lot of these tech discussions within this setting, and the place is big enough for a lot of projects to showcase what they have been doing, what they are doing. So pretty much, hopefully we can see some of you here in Vietnam. And we also timed the conference just before Token 2049, which is, I think, the largest blockchain conference in Asia, definitely in Singapore. So it's going to be a nice tour around Southeast Asia or Asia for you to explore the scene and of course the vibrant ecosystem in Vietnam. So that's definitely what we are very passionate to showcase to the international delegates.
Well, it sounds like must visit.
Thank you.
How did you come across Yellow Coworking? Why did you decide to stop by? Are you traveling like around Chiang Mai, Thailand?
I actually knew about Yellow like since 2018.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because I spent a year and a half in Bangkok. I worked there for Asia Blockchain Review. So I set up this blockchain media in Thailand. So we were very fortunate to be able to speak with a lot of the players in the Bangkok and the Thailand scene. And of course, Yellow is definitely not a name to be missed in that point. So I also spoke at Tokenomics. Got to meet a lot of your teams back then. Of course, like I was not able to get to Chiang Mai at that point. But then of course I heard a lot about this, and after 3 years, I think after 3 or 4 years, so finally I've been able to make it here. This is actually like a vacation for me, but you know, it's never a full vacation for crypto people. So whenever you meet like crypto people in the community,
Crypto never sleeps.
Yeah, you just instantly get back to that mode, you know, like meeting people and sharing stuff. And I think I really like that vibe, and hopefully I can get to come back more after this.
Thank you all guys for watching. Thank you so much for a great interview.
Thank you for hosting.
And see you soon. Make sure to subscribe to not miss any new videos.
Right. Thank you, Anastasia. Thanks. Bye-bye.